We talk to the busiest actor and two of the creators of Star Wars: The Bad Batch. A blast from the past is back to blast the present. And I have my review of Invincible Season 1. All that and the latest and everything cool today in The Rundown. Hey, welcome to The Rundown. My name is Victor Lucas, and yes, I know my hair is getting to DEF CON stage floofy. I've got to get a haircut. I know that, and I will. We're going to have an awesome show for you today, and it is brought to you by our good friends at the Gaming Stadium. They are Canada's leader in online esports tournament facilitation, with tournaments going on every weekend. You won't want to miss out on the action. You can join up with them at tgs.gg. Today's episode is dedicated to Sword Thumb, who does lurk around the Electric Playground and checks out some of the live stuff, but in archive format. Today, he's watching The Rundown live for the first time, which is great. So welcome, and that is something that's also a little hint for you out there. We do the Rundowns live occasionally, and they're a lot of fun with the best chat on the internet. But let's get started with Sword Thumb's Rundown. All right, we know that May the 4th be with you is coming up very soon, and Star Wars: The Bad Batch is going to be premiering. It's brought to you by the studio that made the Clone Wars, as if you didn't know that. Dave Filoni, the revered and esteemed Dave Filoni, is overseeing the series, but he's got a lot of great help to make this show come true. And I actually got a chance to speak with some of the members on the creative team. First, I wanted to run a little bit of my interview with Dee Bradley Baker. Can you tell us who these characters are? I mean, apart from their names, which kind of define some of their characteristics, what's the difference between these characters and who are they?
The Bad Batch they're a team of kind of specialized, supercharged clones that are different from the regular clones in that they each are physically a little bit modified, but they each have a kind of it's almost a superpower. Not quite that far, but they have a super ability that when you add them all together, they become this amazing, unstoppable force to be reckoned with in a military or conflict situation. And so they operate in a uniquely improvisational, on-the-fly kind of manner that also adds for a lot of fun. In addition to that, the difference of their characters is a really interesting dynamic. They're very different in personality and tone, and there's a lot of humor in that. And there's also a lot of back and forth in terms of how they are to deal with what's coming at them. Which there's a lot as the world changed from Republic with Order 66 into the Empire, which is it's a profound, dramatic, and rather dreadful turn of events. And to see how they process this and work this out together, it's really interesting and fun at the same time.
Awesome fellow. Love speaking with Dee Bradley Baker. I've had the chance to talk to him at a bunch of different occasions over the years, and it was a lot of fun to talk to him. Of course, he plays every clone in the Clone Wars and the Bad Batch. He's got a whole bunch of different voices and different characterizations that he has to do. Remarkable fellow, incredibly talented, but that's not all that I got to speak with on the Bad Batch team. I also spoke with a couple of executive producers, Brad Rao and Jennifer Corbett, and they had some interesting things to say as well. This actually seems like the most dangerous time period in what we have seen in Star Wars history, because you can feel it right out of the gate with Order 66 happening before their eyes. Nobody knows who to trust at all. It just feels like everybody is backstabbing and incredibly dangerous. Brad, this must be terrific fodder for you guys to craft some stories and to give us some different perspectives on all this.
Absolutely. I mean, in this changing galaxy where the Empire is rising, but they're not at the full zenith of their power that we're familiar with in the original trilogy, there are gaps in power all across the galaxy. So who moves to start filling those gaps is really interesting. How our team deals with this changing universe and really just trying to survive is at the heart of our show. And yeah, the amount of stories we could tell out of that are almost infinite. It's really great.
Is there a concerted effort on the part of the production team to kind of humanize the clones? I mean, we saw huge efforts with that with the, the Clone Wars series, but now it's almost like there's another slant to this. There are ostracized clones and clones that aren't good enough to be regular clones. Is that part of what you're going to get from watching The Bad Batch?
Yeah, I mean, they start off as this unit that the regular clones, consider defective, and a lot of the clones don't even know they exist. So the Bad Batch is used to taking on missions and kind of being under the radar. But when the Empire takes over, obviously they run things a little differently, and the Bad Batch definitely does not fit in. Whereas the other clone troopers, because of their chips, question the Empire's rule less and less, and there's more of a division between our Bad Batch and then the regular clones.
Doesn't the show look incredible? I've actually had the chance to check out the first episode of The Bad Batch, so I'll have some thoughts on the show. And I've got a little bit more of those interviews for you guys on Monday's episode of The Rundown, so make sure you come back for that. It's going to be a lot of fun to dig a little bit deeper into this new Star Wars show. It's crazy. I was just thinking today, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in my Invincible review coming up a little bit later in this episode, but holy crap, are we spoiled with television. I've never lived through a period like this where you just go from one awesome piece of escapism to one awesome piece of escapism, and then scattered throughout all that are some pretty cool movies and then tons of video games. You kids today, you're so spoiled. You have no idea. I used to wait for my Starlog magazine to kind of see if there's anything new in the world of Star Wars coming, and we'd wait and wait and wait, and now we get these things every freaking month. It's amazing. Anyways, Bad Batch coming May the 4th. All right. Something that has come back from the past, which is really fun to see, is a new version of R-Type. Launching today on a plethora of different machines is R-Type Final 2, and this takes a lot of the pixelated visuals of the classic R-Type games and converts everything to polygons, it makes it kind of a 3D take on 2D game design that has stood the test of time. Anybody that's played any R-Type game out there, and I would probably hazard to guess that almost everybody in the chat has some familiarity with R-Type, will know the deal here. You've got to navigate through tricky areas, and sometimes you've got little caves that you have to fly through. You're going to be inundated with all kinds of enemy types and bullet hell coming at you, and you've got to fly through all of that and narrowly avoid death in a million different variations. And you can upgrade, and you can make your ship more powerful and add little AI buddies and companions with you along your travels. And it is just a slick experience, and I am looking forward to checking this out. I've actually downloaded it to my PC, and so my plan is to stream a little bit of that for you guys next week, and we'll see how I do. One of the things that's typical with all the R-Type games is that they're incredibly difficult, but they are also incredibly addictive and just a tremendously cool fun. I just love playing these shoot-'em-ups like that, and R-Type is one of the best ever made, so very, very happy to see it back. R-Type Final 2 is available for everything. I saw it in the eShop. It's on PC. I think it might be exclusive to the Epic Game Store. That's where I downloaded it from. And it's on the other consoles as well, PlayStation and Xbox. It's everywhere. There's a special edition out there if you want to go crazy. Probably sold out by this point. A lot of fans for R-Type out there in the world. I also wanted to revisit what I talked about yesterday. Talking about Returnal. I'm still playing it in my mind, by the way. This is a game that I talked about at length yesterday, and I talked about how difficult it was and how beautiful it is and how mysterious it is. The people at Housemarque have really crafted something really special here that is a fusion of survival horror and Metroidvania and Souls-like roguelike titles. And it is a tremendous achievement. It is absolutely their best game, their most important game. It's going to put these folks into a whole new stratosphere, and deservedly so. It's a wonderful experience. Well, guess what happened? Yesterday, I'm still obsessed with it, and I expect I will be for months to come. Yesterday, after the stream, because this is a game that requires your mental faculties and your Twitch, acumen and your ability to stay focused on objectives. And you don't always have that when you're chatting and looking at the screen and, talking and trying to be coherent. And I was doing a marginal job with that. But yesterday after the stream, I was going to watch an episode of a show that my wife and I are into, and I was waiting for her to come down into the cave. And so I booted up Returnal again, and I had the best play run I've had. I just kept going and going and going, beat a boss that I hadn't even seen. So the very first time I met the boss, I beat the boss, and it was exhilarating. And my wife actually came down and she was sitting beside me, because we had planned to watch a show together. And she's like, are you still playing? Like, what are you doing? When are we going to watch our show? And it's like, well, I can't, there's no save. I don't want to lose my progress. I have to keep playing until I die. But I didn't die. I kept going and going. And there was an epiphanous breakthrough moment in how to play the game. And I don't know if I want to spoil that, but it really is the combination of the augments and the pickups that you can find along the way, and those parasites that you attach to your suit. If you find the right combination, your longevity is extended, and that's what happened. And so I beat the boss, and I got the awesome device that I was looking for. Basically, I can grapple around the environments now, and it's like a whole new game, and it just keeps going and going and going. And it's a roguelike, so you start over and you play the sequences over and over again, but those are still freaking fun. Hours and hours and hours and hours that I've put into this game. I still love the opening of the game. I still love playing every minute of this thing. So yeah, it's incredible. And I was, I do think that you have to give it, patience. I saw David Jaffe was tweeting about how he hates hard games. I think this is the roguelike. Well, it's the roguelike for me. I feel like it's empowered me now to not only just keep going with this game, but now I want to turn some of this patience that I've been able to discover within myself to keep going with Returnal, and point my attention at some of the other roguelikes that I just have thrown the towel on. Not because I don't like them, but it's just like, oh my God, I'm never going to get any further. But now I feel all empowered, and I love it. And I didn't give Returnal my 9 out of 10 that I've been feeling yesterday, but I think I can pretty confidently say it is a 9 out of 10. I mean, it is just completely wonderful escapism, and it's just crazy fun. And if you've got a PlayStation 5, which is a huge caveat, I know, because they're hard to find, I can't recommend this experience enough. I wish there was a demo. I wish people could play like a sequence of it to see if it's for them. Because I think that if you have an affinity for Metroidvania type games, if you're a fan of Metroid Prime, if you like kind of spooky space horror and psychological type horror experiences, but you also have a fondness and a memory of really cool arcade games like Robotron or Defender or Centipede or Asteroids, I think you're going to dig the fundamentals of this game. It's just wonderful. So yeah, there you go. I'm raving. I love it. I think Returnal is wonderful, and hopefully at least some of you get a chance to play it. All right, let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the world of Xbox for the month of May. Xbox released a video and some of the info about some of the games with gold that are coming in the month of May. You got Lego Batman, Tropico 4, you've got Armello, and another game, this Dungeons game, which I've never seen before. I don't really know this one. Armello's kind of cool because it's like it's a strategy card experience, kind of like a board game, but with really beautiful animation and great character designs. I saw this one coming up the ranks in Kickstarter, and this was a real labor of love that took many years to kind of come to fruition, and now it's had a nice long life on a bunch of different platforms. This Dungeons 3, I don't really know too much about this game, and I'm curious about it. It looks like you're sort of setting traps, and it looks kind of little League of Legends like. and a little dungeon master-like, I guess. It looks like it could be a lot of fun. Don't know too much about that one. I do know a lot about this one. Lego Batman. We actually did the making of the Lego Batman video game and visited TT Games in Knutsford. And they poured a ton of heart and soul into this game. It was bettered by the sequels, especially Lego Batman 2. But Lego Batman was just so fun. It had an animated series kind of vibe about it, and an obvious TT Games sense of humor. Love that game. If you've never played it, it's a total treasure. And Tropico's always been a pretty fun go-to strategy series. I think it's a pretty solid title as well. Definitely tongue-in-cheek. It's kind of like a Sim City in the paradise. A lot of strategy in the games with gold offerings for the month of May, but some solid titles in there. Nothing like mind-blowing, super exciting or anything like that. I would say that PS Plus offering the PlayStation 5 version of Wreckfest kind of one-ups this experience, but or these offerings, but still some pretty solid choices in there. All right, I've got just one other quick thing that, well, maybe not so quick. Let's talk about this animated series based around Robert Kirkman's Invincible comic book. The latest episode actually had Robert Kirkman as the writer of the show, and I noticed that at the end of the episode. And I got to tell you, this episode was incredibly powerful, this finale episode. It was the 8th episode of a short season, but a meaningful season. And I was truly blown away. I mean, this is some incredible animation and incredible animated work. Like, it totally stands with some of the best theatrical animated stuff that I have seen. This particular episode, it was so powerful. It was the culmination of, the story threads of Mark figuring out what his father Nolan, Omni-Man, is all about. And it ends in this, all-out brawl, this battle that takes place across the world. Basically, Omni-Man and Invincible going toe-to-toe. And Omni-Man, the much more powerful and experienced world hero, just beats the snot out of his son. And it was shocking to see, and there was some, really poignant and beautiful flashback sequences, which were very evocative and powerful and effective. And we also saw unbelievable carnage and destruction and devastation. And one of the things that I recalled as I was watching the show, of course, was the battle between General Zod and Superman in Man of Steel, which was pretty incredible to witness on screen when that film came out. But this just completely squashed that. I mean, the devastation that two super beings just beating the crap out of each other the havoc that it would create on our Earth was really well illustrated. Buildings falling and toppling on people just rip limb from limb, and Omni-Man just showing an utter lack of disdain or a lack of interest or concern at all for humanity, and killing people willy-nilly, and his son, this hero in training, basically still just watching in abject horror as his father just terrorizes the whole planet while also kicking the crap out of him. And I found myself getting quite emotional. I was getting choked up. I mean, it was just so wonderfully put together and so wonderfully acted and illustrated. It was powerful. I mean, it was fantastic. And there was also a lot of cut sequences and a lot of moments where we got to see, the people around Mark Grayson, like his mother and Cecil, just watching in horror, just, an utter stupefied horror about what they were witnessing, people in just utter disbelief. And we get to understand that, Mark's father comes from a race of super beings and super powerful, aggressive beings that live a long time, and they don't care about puny little planets like Earth. They just want to rule the galaxy. And so we really dive into the lore, and we also see that Mark Grayson, Invincible, is maybe a little more human than his father is comfortable with. And, it kind of tees up where we're going to go from here in future seasons. And this week we found out that season 2 and 3 have been greenlit by Amazon, and I think that's just a wonderful decision because this show, especially if you've read the comics at all, it has a long, long way to go. There's a lot of really cool twists and turns. And one thing that I'm also really impressed with too is all of the side characters and all the other heroes that are introduced, like Adam Eve and the Guardians of the Globe characters, Robot and Monster Girl. There's so many different threads and plot lines. Even the non-super heroic people, the people that work with Cecil, trying to grapple with the realities of this Earth that has been invaded by super beings that can just run amok and start killing people willy-nilly. I was impressed by the first few episodes. I was really taken in when we had a story that sort of brought Mark to a college and really humanized him. But it was this episode that I think this show is just it's approaching like a masterpiece level. I mean, it's just so freaking good. It's very mature and very bloody and gruesome, and I think that shock is something you have to kind of sit with for a little while, and that was true when I read the comic, by the way. But then you recognize the maturity in the craftsmanship, in the idea of what it would really be like, without the sassiness of the boys. The boys is excellent as well, but there's a really dark humor there, and I think Invincible tries to, play, even though there's some comedy and there's some silliness and it's an animated show and it looks like, a Saturday morning cartoon until the blood starts flying everywhere. There's a realism to the way that the stories are crafted in Invincible, and it's a gut punch because Invincible himself, the character of Mark Grayson, is so he approximates what we came to understand with Peter Parker, this kind of high school kid that is learning about himself and his ability and his power as a hero. And it's a hell of a ride. I can't wait for more. I absolutely love the finale, and it made me kind of reflect back on the whole season now, and I just love the show, man. I'm in awe. I am very, very impressed. And I hope that this opens the door for more. I mean, it's kind of crazy to me that we don't have like a sort of a mature rated Deadpool animated show. I think Powers, which was converted into a live action show that Brian Michael Bendis brought out as an awesome comic series not long ago, and the show was okay, but I think an animated Powers would be excellent. There's a Brian K. Vaughan series that I love called Ex Machina, which I think also would make for a fantastic animated series. It's crazy that Spawn isn't out there right now, and I'd love to hear from you guys. What did you think of Invincible, and what other comic series that are maybe a little bit more adult themed or adult oriented would make for great animated properties out there? I even think like a 1970s set, Batman show where he's dealing with gruesome murders by some really creepy, psychopaths, because a lot of Batman's villains are just terrifying. That doesn't sort of hold back on the gruesomeness and the violence, could be exhilarating, and sort of emphasizes a little bit more of his detective abilities, and hires an actor that is excellent at sort of doing voiceover narration and trying to get into Batman's psyche. That's what a show like Invincible does. It sort of opens your imagination to where else creators can go with this kind of talent and commitment and art. I mean, Invincible is amazing. I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. All right, you guys, that is going to do it for the rundown today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again on Monday with a fresh episode for you. In the meantime, make sure you check out all the other videos that we've got on the channel. And if you dig our stuff, please hit that subscribe button and that little bell to be notified. Thank you to all of our subscribers and our EPN members. We'll see you on Monday, and until then, play forever.